Welcome back on this Friday evening. A familiar face with us. We're joined by Alex Marland, Professor of Politics and Chair in Leadership and Trust at Acadia University. And you are not alone tonight in studio. You brought a number of senior politics students with you. You've been traveling with the legislature today, visiting places like us. Yeah, listen, thanks for having us in. There's a bunch of students here from Trois-Rivières, from Acadia, from St. Mary's University. We went to CBC Studios. National Public Relations, we're at the legislature, MLA Julie Van Exton was really helpful, and now we're here. It's been a great day. And what a day to be at the legislature in Nova Scotia, because it wrapped up the fall sitting. Relatively short. Some people have a lot to say about that. Only 8 days, a lot of bills put through in that time. Is it just me, and maybe I've been around this too long, it seems like legislative sessions in Atlantic Canada are getting ever shorter and shorter and shorter. So historically, that's absolutely true. They've been getting shorter, and part of the reason is because years ago, it used to, and including in Ottawa, it used to take you so long to get there, right? I mean, you had to travel by horse or ferry or all sorts of things. Yeah. But nowadays, what's happening is premiers, prime ministers, they don't want to go through the legislature. They don't want to be beat up. They want things to go forward as fast as they can. I'm telling you, our democracy is not in good shape here in Nova Scotia and in other parts of the Atlantic region when we have a legislature that is not meeting on a regular basis. At a very minimum point, I'm sure a lot of viewers are saying, what are we paying our politicians for if they're not in the legislature? Well, and they would say, well, look, I'm doing lots of work in my home riding, in my constituency. I'm meeting people. I'm finding out what's important to them. That's true, but I think the reality is we elect them to scrutinize government and what government is doing, and the forum to do that in isn't social media, it's the legislature itself. And so all over the place we need legislatures to be open more often, but not to the point that the opposition is just using it as a hammer against the government. There has to be substantive review of bills that are being put forward. Bills should not be rushed through the way that we're seeing sometimes. Is this the case of the PC government taking advantage of that supermajority that they have in Nova Scotia? In Nova Scotia, absolutely it is. Of course it is. I mean, if it was a minority government, you wouldn't be able to do this. But it's not just here. It happens in other places as well. And I think there's a lot to be said about the power of minority governments. Premier Tim Houston was in Ottawa while the House was sitting. And it seems like they're, right across the country, we're hearing from the premiers on a national level about national priorities, because so much time and effort has been spent on national issues, be it trade, be it tearing down barriers between the provinces. And we saw Premier Houston meeting with Prime Minister Carney about energy products programs. How vital are those meetings? Or so, I mean, I wasn't in the room. What I can tell you is this, is that there's an awful lot of people who are saying, what is happening? Where are the deals? How is Canada changing in a positive way? What people are seeing is, in fact, a lot of frustrations about the economy. They're seeing a lot of frustrations about housing. There are a lot of things that are percolating. And I think at the same time, we need to remember that Mark Carney this time last year wasn't even in consideration to become Prime Minister. I mean, he himself was not anticipating any of this. So it's taking a lot longer than Mark Carney initiated, was suggesting to us. And now where I think a lot of us are kind of like getting this pent-up demand of like, okay, show us the money. When are you going to do things here? And he's been doing a lot of travel outside of the country. We haven't seen any deals as a result of that, but he keeps saying, it's the long game. And as part of that, he's going back to the White House, we found out today, next week. Is the pressure on him this time to bring something back home? I mean, the pressure is always on. I think the problem that Mark Carney's finding is that it's this old expression that Pierre Trudeau said about Canada, is that, we are like, Canada's like living next to an elephant. And every twitch and every grunt, we feel it. And so in this particular case, you have to think the reality is, as smart as Mark Carney might be, what is Canada's bargaining power relative to an elephant down south? And in this case, an elephant in the form of Donald Trump, who's even a bigger elephant than most of them. So I think, for the most part, the challenge that Mark Carney has is expectations management, is to try to dial things back a little bit and to try to explain to Canadians, why is it so hard to get a deal that's going to work in our favor?
Pierre Poilievre certainly playing on that concern that people have about cost of living. We've heard him in we heard him in the House of Commons all week on that. But I want to ask you about the federal NDP. We have something of a race that seems to be taking shape. Ava Lewis is perhaps the best known name of the three. There's an Edmonton MP who is running as well. There's also some infighting that is starting to surface. Is this going to be an ugly fight, and is this the NDP recasting itself for the next generation?
So it's important to have different parties, to have different options than just simply the two main political parties. In this particular case, the NDP is absolutely going through an identity crisis. It's trying to figure out what it is. And part of it is they're talking about the politics of identity all the time in ways that are inhibiting their ability to consider things that matter to an awful lot of Canadians. And so pocketbook issues are not going to matter to, if the average person is hearing the NDP talking all the time about different forms of diversity, but that person is worried about being able to pay for groceries, it's a disconnect. And so what's happening within the NDP is they're having a fundamental conversation about what is our identity, what is our party. From my perspective, and I've thought this for a while, they need to change the party name. It's a terrible party name. It's totally out of date. The acronym doesn't work in French and in English. And they also need to move on from the colors and come up with something else. They need a complete rebrand.
Okay, we'll be watching, see if they take your advice on that. Alex Marland, thank you for coming in, and thank you for the students for joining you.
Oh, this has been great. Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you. We'll be back with much more of your newscast after this.